In this video, we are going to study about the non-verbal communication. Now, let us first discuss what is communication. So, communication comes from the Latin word communis and it means to make things common, which means that if I'm trying to communicate with someone, the most imperative thing is that we should be on the same page. We should know what we are talking about. For example, I am trying to explain non-verbal communication while you are here to look for a movie. So, if we have nothing in common, then this communication can never happen, right? So, this is the broad definition of communication. Now, communication is of various types and in the class we have discussed them in greater detail. While the most important one is the distinction between the verbal communication and the non-verbal communication. So, the word verbal itself tells you that the non-verbal communication would be that communication where words are not used, while gestures or maybe your facial expressions, these are more important, and Mehrabian model also talks about it. So, in your exam, we have received questions related to Mehrabian model as well. Mehrabian model of communication says that it is the non-verbal aspect of communication that is more important than the verbal part of communication. Verbal communication means where you use words, while the non-verbal part means where you use cues and gestures. These are or the symbols, and that becomes more important. So, it can be body signals, it can be the study of space or the space signals, then we can have the time, then we can have objects, also the study of touch. So, these are few important things, and in this video we are going to study about haptics, that is the study of touch. We are going to study about artifacts, that is the objects that are very important. Then we will study about chronomics, that is the study of time. Then proximics, that is the study of space, and then we have the bodily signals, that is the kinesthetics. So, these are the different types of non-verbal cues, non-verbal communication that is very important in the communication. Now, the overall communication consists of the body language. The person should have a good body language, then only you come to know that that person is interested in talking to you. So, 55% of the communication is attributed to the body language of a person, while the paralanguage, that means your tone, pitch, and your volume and whatever in which you are talking, that holds about 38%, and the verbal content is only 7%. This means that the words you are talking, yes, they can be important, but these words can be deceptive as well. So, the most important part is that you should focus on the non-verbal aspect. The non-verbal aspect of the communication becomes more important. Now, so to repeat the verbal message, we can say that the non-verbal communication can do what, right? So, non-verbal communication can do what? Non-verbal communication can make us repeat the message again and again. For example, just by pointing at the picture, you emphasize on that particular thing more. You point in a direction while stating the directions. Then you can use the verbal message to assert something, right? You can say that you are pointing at the particular, or you can use specific words, or to give emphasis on these specific words. Your accent will tell you that which kind of communication you are holding. So, verbal tone of whatever you are using indicates the actual meaning of the specific words. So, the accent of the verbal message is very important. Which kind of emphasis you are putting. Say, for example, I am saying I need to go, but if I am saying I need to go, so the accent or the way I am talking becomes very important. Then you have the complement, they also complement the verbal message. So, for example, a nod can say that it is a positive signal, while the other gestures can tell, or if you are just waving your hand, you know that you are telling no to the other person. So, these non-verbal messages often complement the verbal message that is happening. So, these non-verbal messages are complementing the verbal message. Then they can contradict the verbal message, saying something is true while avoiding eye contact or nervously fidgeting. So if you are avoiding eye contact, someone would come to know that you are avoiding the conversation or you are contradicting the verbal message that you were putting. Then you can regulate your interactions as well, like touching someone's arm to signal that you want to talk next. This can be what? This can be a clue that you are giving to the other person. So the non-verbal communication can put using the non-verbal communication, you can put emphasis, you can compliment whatever you are saying, you can disagree or contradict whatever you are saying, and you can regulate the interactions as well. Also, these non-verbal cues or non-verbal communication can substitute the verbal message, especially if it is like blocking of the noise, or it can be interruption, nodding instead of saying yes. So you can often replace these non-verbal cues because they are even more evident. So just saying yes can be said also in the form of nodding of the head. So you can replace, contradict, you can compliment. These are few important ways in which the non-verbal communication is always attached in the communication. And also you can change the meaning of the words. Saying okay as a scream or a whisper can also indicate a lot. Then the person would come to know that this okay that I'm saying is not, I'm not supporting this, right? So there are two sentences. Okay, I'll come here. Okay, I'll definitely come here, right? So you know that you are putting emphasis on something. So the word okay will also change the meaning, right? So we all know that all of these non-verbal cues that we have can be used in different manners. First of all, the message you are putting can change its meaning if the non-verbal communication is not complementing it. Also, you can use it to contradict it. You can use it to regulate the interactions that you are having, substitute and change the meaning of the words as well. Then, what is our reliance? So our reliance on the non-verbal communication is especially intense. Why do we rely on non-verbal communication? We communicate through emotions, and in any communication, emotions are always displayed by the non-verbal aspect of communication. So in emotions or stressful situations, we often use the non-verbal communication. Feeling threatened, vulnerable or powerless, often the emotions tell a lot of things. Feeling confused about some interactions or some other person, what you are feeling, if you're getting mixed feelings, all of these are expressed because of the non-verbal expressions. When you are talking with someone from a different culture, work area or group with which you have a little familiarity. So often in these kinds of situations, it is the non-verbal cues that help a lot rather than the verbal communication. Now, what are the key components throughout the non-verbal communication? These key components are your eye contact. Without a good eye contact, the communication would lose its essence. The physical distance, which maintains this distance is what you maintain between two people. If you are too much comfortable, then the distance would reduce, while the social distance between any person who is talking will be wider as compared to the people who know each other. So the physical distance, and this is also called as the proximics. This is the study of space. Then we have your posture. What kind of a person you are is illustrated by the posture you are keeping. If you are slouching in the class, the teacher would come to know that this person is not attentive in the class. So if you are leaning forward, this means that you want to say something. Or if you are very attentive, it will say that if you have a straight back in the class, it shows that you are very attentive in the class as well. Then gestures. Your gestures also are very important. What you are trying to say is often depicted by the gestures. Volume. This means are you even loud enough to be heard? If you are whispering, this means that you have lack of confidence. If you are stammering, it can also show that you are not that confident. Then comes your facial expressions. Your facial expressions can be relaxed. You can be showing a positive regard to someone. It can be that you are baffled, you are angry. All of these are the facial expressions. Then comes the tone of the message also. Are you sarcastic? Are you avoiding the conversations? Are you polite? These are the few aspects or the key components that are always there in the communication process. So the non-verbal communication is often mistaken as a body language, but it is of a broader definition. So there are different people like Peterson and others who have given a huge amount of definitions about non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is sometimes vague. Why? Because it is deeper to understand, because you know that it involves more elements than only talking. There are body parts, body movements, paralinguistics, there are spatial distances, touch, chronemics, objects, design, and arrangement of the settings even in the message that tells a lot about a given person. So often we have seen that the non-verbal communication is way more complex than the verbal kind of communication. Now the types of non-verbal communication, it can be kinesthetics, that is the study of your body. It can be vocalics, the way you are talking. Then it can be haptics, that is the study of touch. Proximix, the study of space. It can be artifacts and the environment you are in which. Then it can be olfactics and chronemics. Now we will discuss each of them slowly and steadily. Now what is kinesthetics? Kinesthetics is the anthropological term of your body language or your body movements. It is the study of human body motion or the physical movements that you will do. It also encompasses the facial expressions, gestures, posture, your adjustments, the rate of walk, the body, if you are leaning or if you are not leaning, your body orientation, hand, foot, leg movements, eye movements, etc. These are all under the kinesthetics. While I'm talking, I'm also using my hands. So this is a body language. You'll understand a lot by these amounts of non-verbal communication. Moreover, kinesthetic involves self and object manipulations such as the scratching, adjusting the clothes, fiddling with the rings, etc. are also added under the domain of kinesthetics. So any movement that you are doing comes under the kinesthetics, that is the study of your body language. Then the facial expressions. The facial expressions are the primary means of expressing and sharing the emotion. If I say in the class, I'm very happy while I look sad, this shows that they are my expressions and what I'm saying are not complementing with one another, which means maybe I'm avoiding the conversation or not telling the truth. So there can be different facial expressions, and these facial expressions are a rich source of information. When as compared, you can say that even the silence is a non-verbal communication. So if a person is too much silent, you know that there is something wrong. So you can say that without using the words, you are trying to communicate a lot of things. Then comes your eye language. So the eye language is regarded as an essential part of kinesthetics because most of the human information about the person comes from the visual channel. So your eye contacts or your eye movements can tell a lot. Even you are gazing at someone, you are staring at someone, all of these are a way to communicate. For example, the meaning of a particular look depends on the given context, cultural norms, relationship you have with the other person or message that you are trying to convey. So if you are staring at someone and that person is becoming uneasy, this shows that this is a bad kind of communication. Then comes your postures. So postures provide information about the person's feeling and person's intention as well. Interest, respect and openness towards the participation and the interaction where you are tells a lot about the individual person, and this is depicted by the posture they are maintaining. For instance, a closed and a rigid posture is less inviting than a relaxed and an open posture. So if you are too much tense, it will be depicted by the posture you are keeping. If you are interested in the conversation, you lean back and listen to someone, while if you're not, you may avoid the conversations. Then comes the gestures. So the gesture are specific movements of your hands, of your arms, of your head, etc. also tells a lot about the person. Gestures usually are accompanied by the speech you are talking. So the hands that are moving right now are what? These are the gestures that are in sync with what I am saying. Right? So the waving, instead of, I can also use gestures to tell, and they can also replace my verbal aspect. For example, if I want to say that I want you to stay quiet in the class, and I just put my hands on my lips. So this is a gesture, and you will understand what the other person is trying to say. Then comes the paralanguage. So paralanguage is the term which is used to describe the vocal qualities of the person. If I want you to know that this question is very important from the examination point of view, rather than telling you again and again about that topic, I can emphasize it, right? So I can say there are two important things that you need to study. There can be verbal, non-verbal or informal communication. While I say verbal is very, very important, and I'm putting emphasis again and again on that word. This means that I am trying to focus your attention or bring your attention to that particular word. So all of these paralinguistic tricks are used in the communication part. Rate of speed, pitch, volume, vocal fillers that you use, or quality in which you are talking tell a lot about a given person. If I keep on using fillers like okay, this also depicts that that person is not confident enough. These are also important in the communication. Then comes the proximix. So proximix, as I told you, is the study of space. Whenever you're talking to someone, there are some boundaries that you need to maintain, and this happens according to the cultural aspects, according to the relationship you have with the other person, according to the community, according to education, etc. So proximix studies how space and distance are used in communication. Humans do not use special distance arbitrarily, but it reveals their feelings about themselves and what they think about the other person as well. Now in the exam, they have also asked in greater detail about proximix. They have also asked about the distance between the different zones. So you should know that there are about 4 zones. You have your intimate space, personal, social, and your public space. And each space has few inches or few distances that are there, and you should know more about them. Right, so these are the spaces. The intimate space, where you will only allow your mother, your parents, maybe your friends, or very close friends, I must say. Then comes the personal space, where all of your friends would come. Social space, say for example, the people you are working in the office with, comes under the social space. And then you have the public space, that is the space where if you are delivering a speech, so the distance you have between the audience becomes the social space, the public space. Then comes the haptics. So haptics is the study of touch. Haptics is the study of how the touch can communicate. Haptics is usually encompassed of the closet relationships. Like proximix, touch would be practiced within the cultural norms. Otherwise, it will turn disrespectful or can cause discomfort in the communication part as well. So if you know the other person really well, then your touch would be familiar and would be acceptable. While if you do not know the other person, then it may make the other person you can say discomfortable, or this can also show that you disrespect that person. So this is the study of touch. Then comes the artifacts. So artifacts or the artifactual communication and appearance includes several cues such as the appearance, the hairstyles, the clothing, the jewelry, the mode of dress, personal adornments, or the grooming behaviors. If there are 2 students in my class, one who is always shabbily dressed, while the other who is very beautifully dressed always and perfect, and neat and tidy, I would definitely think that that person who is coming such nicely dressed in the class is more attentive in the class, is more interested to study, and is more welcomed in the class as well. So these are the artifacts and can tell a lot about the other person. Then comes the olfactics. It is the study of the sense of smell and how smell communicates a lot. So you know that this is the smell that comes from the food when my mother is cooking it, and you get familiarized with these smells. So this is the study of smell, olfactics. Then color. So color is considered as a basic cue that you see in the non-verbal aspect, which talks both about the user and the person who you are communicating with. Colors convey different meanings according to the various cultures. Their message are very culture specific. For example, white is the color of wedding in most of the countries, while some Asian countries, white is the color for mourning. So in our country, white is not worn when you are going for a wedding, while in other countries it may be acceptable, right? So this shows that how much a color can tell about the given communication. We always have proper communication parts attached to the colors that we use. We know that gray stands for neutrality. We know that blue stands for calmness, green for growth, red for energy. It can also it can also show conquest. It can show intensity, love, emotions. Then yellow sometimes shows happiness. Violet can show enchantment. Black can show nothingness. It can also show surrender, and it can show that you do not like that person. So these are the different meanings that are attached to the different colors that we use. Then chronemics. So chronemics is the study of time. Chronemics is an essential cue of non-communication. Chronemics is the study of how humans use the time to communicate. It is communicative value of time that modifies individual and also nation's notion of time and management. So if you know that that person or the student in my class are very punctual, you will also like to communicate with them. So this shows that the study of time is important. This is one question that I have for you. Non-verbal communication is what? Is it impractical? Is it indifferent? Non-repetitive? Or is it subconscious? So I'm very sure that you all know the answer. It is D, that is subconscious. Your non-verbal communication should always be practical. So this means A is wrong. Indifferent? Definitely not. You should try to communicate and it should always be in sync with whatever you are talking. So this becomes wrong. Non-repetitive? Again wrong, because you are emphasizing. Sometimes you use non-verbal communication to emphasize on something. So it is always done in repetitive in nature and it holds a lot of importance. And definitely your non-verbal communication is subconscious in nature, because you know that these gestures that you use in the class or whatever these gestures you use, these are all drilled in your head. You already know that nodding your head becomes yes. So they come naturally to you, hence they are also seen as subconscious in nature. You not always deliberately do them. They are always attached with the communication you are doing. Hence D becomes the right answer. The non-verbal communication are subconscious in nature. So let us quickly revise what we have done. So till now we have discussed different non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication are the communication that are attached with your verbal communication, but they hold more importance than the verbal part. The different types of non-verbal communication can be the study of your bodily movements like kinesthetics, vocalics, haptics, Proximix, that is the study of space, haptics, that is the study of your touch, artifacts, olfactics and chronemics. So I hope you understood today's video, and if you have any doubt, you can write it in the comment section and I'll surely reply to you. Thank you.